cross in Dubai.
You can't drive into Hassan from here because there's a front line in the way.
If we look at the number of days lost compared to the 1970s,
your essential guide wherever you're
this
heading,
year's
every
spike
weekend on
is
BBC World
tiny.
News.
President Putin chose to start the war and release the evil.
This is gang territory in Port-au-Prince.
Rush hours are peak time for the kidnappers.
The BBC News Channel, more than just the headlines.
This is BBC News. Welcome if you're watching here in the UK or around the globe. I'm Jane Hill. Our top stories. The head of NATO calls for the swift deployment of more advanced weapons to Ukraine, saying the war there is at a pivotal moment. A special report from Afghanistan, where the Taliban continue to crack down on the rights of women. And calls for the British former Chancellor Nadhim Zahawi to stand aside as Conservative Party chairman during an inquiry into his taxes. Hello and welcome to BBC News. The NATO Secretary-General has met Germany's new Defence Minister, Boris Pistorius, in Berlin, as Germany remains under pressure over the supply of tanks to Ukraine. After the meeting, the two men said they had discussed the issue of battle tanks, but a decision still hadn't been made. According to export rules, Germany has to give permission for any German-made tanks to be exported, even if they're owned by other countries. Poland has now sent an official request and Germany has acknowledged it. This is what NATO's Secretary-General had to say. Damian McGuinness there in Berlin. The Taliban authorities continue to face international condemnation for their treatment of women and girls, banning them from much of public life. It's been a month since they stopped female students attending university, and it's still unclear whether they'll be able to return. My colleague Yalda Hakim has been speaking to those fighting for change. In the UK, opposition parties say the Conservative Party chair, Nadhim Zahawi, should be sacked now rather than wait for the results of an investigation. The government's ethics advisor is looking into Mr Zahawi's financial affairs after it emerged he had to pay a penalty to the taxman while he was Chancellor. He says he acted properly. Our chief political correspondent Nick Eardley has been telling us. Nick Eardley, the chairman of the BBC, says he is confident he's done nothing wrong and has no plans to resign because of the Boris Johnson loans row. Claims have emerged that before his appointment, Richard Sharp was involved in securing a loan for the then Prime Minister. Richard Sharp has been speaking to our media editor, Katie Razzle. Richard Sharp. And do stay with us here on BBC News in just a few minutes. All the Oscar nominations from Los Angeles.
Hello. It was another start to the day with big temperature contrasts across the UK, and the day panned out to be somewhat.
Welcome to the visit by such a senior US politician.
We break stories from more places than any other international news broadcaster. We are the leaders in global breaking news.
Hello and a very warm welcome. It is awards season and in the next few minutes we'll be finding out which filmmakers and performers are nominated for the starriest of them all, the Oscars of course. I'm Jane Hill and with me for this BBC News special is the film critic and producer Jason Solomons. We'll be live in Los Angeles in the coming minutes as well, of course, for that all-important announcement. But first, let's just remind ourselves of some of the top contenders. Will the brutal All Quiet on the Western Front do well? It's a German language telling of the horrors of the First World War.
You do like me?
I don't.
A tale of friendship gone sour. Martin McDonagh's The Banshees of Inisherin has been a critical hit. And there could be nods for two of the year's biggest sequels: Top Gun Maverick and Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Hello and a very warm welcome to BBC News on Oscar Nominations Day, live in Los Angeles in the coming minutes. But Jason Solomons is with me. Lovely to have you back with us. You'll be with us for the rest of this hour. Let's just have some initial thoughts from you, Jason, as someone who follows all of this world so very closely, of course. What could we be watching, hearing in the coming minutes? The nomination there for Best Sound for All Quiet on the Western Front, Best Score. It's in the category for, yes, 1 of 9 for Best Picture as well.
Extraordinary for a foreign language movie. I have to say, Parasite only had, I think, 5, and then it ended up winning Best Picture. But 9 nominations is an extraordinary achievement in all of those categories. And also, what a classy show. We get to talk about the harmonium and how an important an instrument that has been to the Oscar process. It is, it's a movie that I don't discount. At this point, the running, I mentioned Banshees of Inisherin and everything overall. That's All Quiet on the Western Front is a movie that might gain momentum. The more people watch it, the more they're stunned by the craft, the acting, the production design that's all nominated there. It's a big achievement.
And we can find out what happens in March. Thanks very much for being with us here on BBC.
Hello. It was another start to the day with big temperature
Looking
contrasts
at the weather picture across the United States,
UK,
a powerful area of low pressure brings multiple hazards over the next few days. Now,